Welcome to Notes from the Not There Yet, a podcast for those navigating life's messy middle. Not lost, not arrived, just not there yet. It's the real stories, real life, and relevant journeys that you can actually relate to. It's for the creatives, the seekers, the doers, and the dreamers. If you've ever asked yourself, is this it or what's next? Then this is the podcast for you. We don't have it all figured out yet, and that's the point. All right, let's dig in. Hello, welcome back. Today you are stuck with little old me, Bethany, right? I am the founder of the Notes from the Not There Yet podcast and the Not There Yet project. I wanted to take this episode and take, a few moments to reflect on the last 3 months and the last year really, and kind of share what this year has taught me through the stories of those that I've had on the podcast, and also just through kind of personal conversations that I've had with people as well. I started working on the Not There Yet project back in June, and I officially launched it in October. And I did it to create a space where people could come and hear the stories of real people that are relatable, that have real stories to tell, that are kind of building successful lives for themselves. And I did that because I personally felt like I was in a space of like the messy middle. I was really feeling lost in kind of my purpose, the direction of where my life was going. And I was in Scotland and had a kind of moment in Scotland where I just didn't know where or what I was doing anymore. And that, for me, was my kind of click and turning point. So I started to work on the Not There Yet project. And as I say, I wanted to create this space where people who were in a similar situation, felt like they were in the messy middle, could come, hear stories, and hopefully relate to some people. And what was interesting, and what has been interesting about kind of being sat in this like space, is that for every story that I've kind of heard and had, it's never been about, goal after goal, hitting them, or achievement after achievement. It's been really about people just sharing like honest experiences and honest stories, and people really kind of finding their own way without almost that kind of constant fight. And I feel like I've been fighting for so long, goal after goal, achievement after achievement. Even this year, I feel like I've achieved a lot, but that's not what the kind of making of these people that I've been speaking to is about. So I wanted to kind of talk to you today just about some of the like key learnings that I've had, and I guess hopefully kind of scene set a little bit, like where I'm closing out in 2025, what my focuses are for 2026. And just reflect a little bit. So thinking about the kind of learnings that I've had from some of the conversations that I've had this year, which have all been amazing. The Notes from the Not There Yet podcast launched in October the 4th. So I've only not even had 3 full months yet. I've done 8 podcasts so far. And each of the stories has just been so inspiring. So I feel like one of my key learnings so far is like, you really don't need anyone's permission to begin or to start something new. So whether it's launching a side hustle, taking a career pivot, which I've done both this year, taking a risk creatively, starting later in life like Donna, no one's going to give you permission to make that decision. That's you doing that for yourself, and actually waiting to feel kind of ready for that permission or ready to start. It's never going to happen. And what really does push us is taking an action, and that can just be, a small step. It doesn't need to be the end product. For me, notes from the Not There Yet, like, people keep asking me like, oh, how's it going? And it's going well because I'm getting listeners every week, and actually they're growing. But what is really great is when you get little messages coming through being like, I really resonated with this part, or I really enjoyed this story, or that, the gap map has really helped me. Like, it's the little things that actually make an impact to me. And I think we kind of have a tendency to kind of want that end product to happen quickly, as a result of almost the society that we built for ourselves. And I think what's important is, if you've got a dream or a vision or something that you want to create, you want to make a change in your career, start small. If you're not happy in your job, just have a look at your CV, see how it's looking. If you have got an idea for a side hustle, get on ChatGPT and have a chat with it and just see what the thoughts are. Throw it in there. Like, it's a great tool to just start to get some inspiration. And actually, when you make those movements, that's where that becoming really starts, and you start to get that momentum behind what you're doing. And I feel like, Donna retrained as a beauty therapist at 28, and she made that decision to kind of move forward and do that, and it wasn't anyone giving her permission to do that. It was her following a gumption and going for it. So yeah, you definitely don't need permission to get going and to start. Next, a big like learning, again, a really big one for me, I think, is when you think about your identity and who you are as a person. And I feel like, especially being in my mid-30s, very conscious that, your 40s around the corner. And then the other day I was like, oh my God, I'm 50 in 15 years. And I was like, kill me. But I do feel like if you are looking to kind of shift your identity, you never should see that as a failure. And that actually kind of those feelings or the murmurings that are happening inside you are actually signals potentially for what it is that you're looking for. So whether that's motherhood, whether that's burnout, whether that's ADHD diagnosis, again, changing career paths, starting aside, all these things, if they're bubbling inside you, it's not a failure that you're not doing well as a person. It's your mind and your body telling you that you actually want to do something different. And I think I definitely have really kind of gone through a shift in mentality, and as a result of my identity this year. And I think talking to my guests, several of them also grieved some of the versions that they were as well. And that feels really scary at times. Like when you're staring down the barrel of change. So whether, we spoke to Jamie last week about how she felt like becoming a mum in the industry, in the music industry that she's in, being a DJ, she thought she would get judged, and she thought that people wouldn't take her as a pregnant DJ. And actually it was the complete opposite. People warmed to her more and accepted her fully because she's still who she is. But I think that kind of shift in who you are as a person before these life changes and after can really have an impact. And actually, those identity shifts are not failures. They are signals for you to move forward. And taking a pause, recalibrating is not a failure. And actually, generally, when the best growth happens in you is when it feels uncomfortable and before it feels like fully right. So, yeah, if you're kind of starting to think in these ways, or you've got these thoughts kind of spiraling or spinning in your head, just explore them again. Take small steps. What is it that you're looking to do? And if it's kind of on repeat and feels good in your core, go for it. A huge one for me this year, and something that I am so passionate about going into next year as well, is community and the impact that people and connecting with people can have on your life. I made the decision this year to leave my exec job and go back to community management because I was really getting swamped and overwhelmed by the marketing space, I didn't feel connected to humans. And it's so funny, I worked in the wedding industry. Work in the wedding industry, which is all about love and family. And I just didn't feel any form of connection to it anymore. Which breaks my heart because I've worked in the wedding industry since I was like 18. Yeah, and it did really break my heart to walk away from it. But I had to, because I was selling this dream that I didn't believe in almost anymore, and that I wasn't seeing the results of the work that I was doing. I wasn't seeing the happy couple at the end of the day. I was just creating and supporting the creation of the marketing behind it. And it just was really starting to feel soulless to me. And I've always been happiest in my previous roles when I'm with people, when I speak with people, when I do events, when I connect. And for me, again, through the people that I've spoke to, I just think community is going to save us. And it changes everything. You know, I've got a really good conversation coming out in January with my old colleague Johnny. So watch this space. Podcast, I think, 2 next year, are all about community. But we are so stronger together. You know, I spoke to Tom, when we spoke to Tom, the Chubby Northerner, about how he built actor awareness and this community of people passionate about their industry. who weren't being supported properly because of how much money they had in their bank, for being working class. And they were able to come together, and he was able to create a movement that helped people, helped aspirational actors actually get the opportunity to act in Leicester Square, in the heart of the theatre space. Like, that was powerful. Like, so, like, Charlotte and what she does, she's obviously a hairstylist, but those moments that she shares with her brides and with the families that she's with, it's so powerful. Like, us as humans coming together and connecting in a world that is so difficult and so disconnected and so lonely, and having that feeling and that sense of belonging, being in a room or not knowing who's going to be in a room. That was a big one. Again, that's Tom. Like, you never know who you're going to meet. You never know who's going to be in a space, in a room, who's going to be in a conversation that you might have, and where that could take you. So I think for me, community, it just changes everything. So whether that's in salons, creative spaces, in running clubs, going to networking events, that for me is the heart. And next year, that is a big focus. I'm going to talk more about that shortly. But everything feels heavier when you're alone. We can't have another year where we all feel lonely. We just can't. Next, my learning number 4 is about confidence. And, imposter syndrome is something that I really struggle with. Even though I've built a successful career, I've, been one of the youngest execs in the industry. I work for Airbnb. I work for a leading community agency, Standing on Giants. I've created a podcast. I've created a business. I've done 2 podcasts this year. Like, I should be so much more confident than I am, and I'm not. And that's because of my imposter syndrome. That's because of my own self-worth. But what I've learned from people that I've spoke to is they're not out there either, like, shouting about it or bragging about it. And I think there's a lot of that noise in social media, actually, of like, in order for you to be successful, you need this. Fair, get it. But all the people that I've spoke to on my podcast who are very successful, they're not out there bragging about what they're doing all the time. They're working their arse off. They're doing it kind of quietly. And they're earning the respect of what they're doing. Every single person that I've had on the podcast so far is not cocky, not brash. They show up, they do what they say they're gonna do, so they back themselves, they achieve that, and they set boundaries for themselves. And there's not an end, almost. And I feel like that's one in itself. Is like, it's never going to end, like, until you die. But we're all just trying to kind of get through this. And I feel, the messy middle is actually, I like to call it the meaningful middle now. But are we ever out of it? I clipped a thing from I'm a Celebrity, and it was Jack Osborne talking about, he's just hit his 40s and he thought he'd have it all figured out. And he was like, and he doesn't. And Ruby Wax and Martin Kemp were like, you never do. And even my mum, and this was a really special one for me, my mum, she said to me, she's like, I don't have it all figured out. And there's something really calming and again connected to that not there yet doesn't mean that you're not doing well. If you've not got it all figured out yet, like, that is so okay. And that you don't need to show off or like be super confident or brash or, to be successful. It's confidence is what grows when you really start to not try and prove it to yourself or to other people or yourself, and just trust in the process of what you're doing. Because you will get there. And that there might be one thing, and then you'll be on to another one. But that's okay, because you should always be growing and evolving. And I think my last big learning, so number 5, is success really is on your own terms. Success is actually probably quieter than what we're taught. We see, in the Diary of a CEO and these podcasts that multimillionaires and it's amazing and, brilliant, well done, you've got there. But what's that took from you to get there? And are you happy? And actually, is success and happiness more about stability and balance and protecting your peace, being with those that you love, wealth in terms of time with people that you love, wealth in terms of, yes, financial freedom, but doing that in a way that is sustainable, doing that in a way that is not impacting on your day-to-day, you're not hitting burnout regularly, you're not deprioritizing things that actually do make you happier. I think many of my podcast guests said that they could do more, but they've chosen not to because they want to prioritize what feels right for them. So whether that's their energy, their family, their newborn babies, they're choosing that. And I think not looking on social media, not, desiring necessarily more, and making sure you're taking that time to kind of pause and reflect on what you do have. I've had to do that quite a few times this year, is really important. And actually pausing and looking what you have achieved this year. Again, I've had to do that. Because it's so funny that within my year this year, where I thought I'd had a pretty rough year, I've had a pretty good year, I'm not gonna lie. And I think my last learning more than anything else is your mindset is what matters most. If, Dana really highlighted this in our podcast, in her episode. She focuses on doing gratitude every single day. She meditates every day. She looks for the positive over the negative. She makes sure that she starts the day being, acknowledging what she's grateful for in that day. And she's built a life where she can wake up every day and be happy about what she's doing. And she does not sacrifice on that. Mindset matters so much more than anything else. If you can work on your mind and get your mind in a place that's not attacking you, so you've got imposter syndrome, not attacking you, in my case with body dysmorphia, looking for the positives, acknowledging what a beautiful life this is, the fact that you're here, the small things is what really matters. And that mindset shift will take you far. These conversations so far this year, and there's more to come, have just been so inspiring for me. It's changed kind of how the Not There Yet project almost is, and how it's evolving for me. Like I said before, it started about the messy middle, which I think many people relate to, but for me it's the meaningful middle. It's this time, and this time I might feel the same when I'm in my 40s, but it's this time of really understanding who I am and what I want out of life, and accepting that there's always going to be things that I'm not going to feel there yet for, but that is okay. And I think for me next year with this project is I don't want to create more noise in the ether. I want to create more meaning. So for me, in terms of 2026, I've got 3 main focuses. So one is curiosity. I want to be really intentionally open-minded to opportunities next year. I want to get in more rooms. I want to meet more people. I want to ask more questions. I want to have deeper, more meaningful conversations. I want to try new things. For me, next year is all about curiosity and exploration of that. And I've said a few times, I want it to be the year of things. It's not very descriptive, but I'm just excited about delving a bit deeper and just being a bit more curious and hopefully creative as an output. But yeah, giving myself that permission not to know what next year is fully going to bring, but really be open-minded and almost leaving the door open for what's to come. Next is connection. So really kind of connecting on a deeper level in terms of the conversations that I have. And I think with the Not There Yet project, I'm spreading myself a lot at the minute on different platforms, and I feel like I want to maybe do less of that in order to kind of have a more concrete, directional presence. And just connection to people. because I feel like that is so important, in forming deeper connections with people through conversations, be it through the podcast, be it through people that I meet, because I think us as humans, that is what we're here to do. Fundamentally, we are here to connect with each other. And I think we're here to connect with each other offline, not online. And that is going to be a core focus. And lastly, I touched on this before, but community, creating opportunity for people to come together and connect, building real safe spaces where you can come together and gather, and that you can come together and connect. And community is not social media. Community is fostering places where people of like-minded thought and belief and nature can come together. And I want to, with the Not There Yet project, create spaces and opportunities for that, where we can come together and share and learn from each other. And I believe community is the future. And that is where a lot of 2026 is going to be for me. So that's, I think, where I'm going to leave it this year. I'm actually going to totally shut off for Christmas. I'm going to take a week away from social media, a week away from everything in my phone other than voice notes, connection to people that I love through said voice notes, and photos, because I love a photo. But yeah, I'm going to shut off. I need a break. I've had a incredibly busy year, and I believe that I deserve a break. And, even when I went on my little solo vacation this year, I didn't have a rest. I was working on the Not There Yet project, which was great, but I wasn't able to fully rest. And Christmas is a time where you get to really spend time with those that you love. And I want to, with all my heart, be in those rooms without distraction of social media, without any work or any relying on that or necessity for that. So yeah, for me, this year I close out with a bit of a FU to the algorithms, albeit obviously I'm going to have to schedule some content. But yeah, I'm shutting off. I need a break, and I'm going to really enjoy that. So yeah, I'm not disappearing. I'm just pausing. I think rest is part of this whole process. And I'm really proud of what I've built so far with the Not There Yet project. And I'm really grateful for anyone that is listening. And I really hope that I can bring more to that next year. And if you're ending this year feeling that you're not maybe in the best place, or if you're ending this year feeling like you have made some great progress but you're looking for more, you're in the right place. Welcome. Alrighty, I think that's it from me today, but I will see you on the other side. Have a wonderful Christmas and New Year, and yeah, see you soon. Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of Notes from the Not There Yet podcast. If you like this episode, please give us a follow or a subscribe. It means the world. You can also check out the website notthereyetproject.co.uk or follow us on all your major channels at Not There Yet Project. All right, we'll see you soon. Let's dig in.